Good afternoon. The Ranter is back to go into yet another rambling diatribe of the news of the day. We are going to go into a bit of our politics of the day, which is the continued coverage of Kamala Harris as she is taking the role as the nominee for the Democratic ticket for the presidency of the United States versus Donald Trump. Now, obviously we did a video upon this earlier on when she was endorsed by Joe Biden and all the events therein. This might be a little bit of a late video because last week I was actually on vacation in Virginia Beach, being far more happier than I normally am. But during that time, subsequent things happened. She had a few rallies. She chose a vice president pick. And then we saw the reaction of Donald Trump and how he did at rallies and what happened at his rallies and his press conferences. And kind of a paradoxical thing happened, kind of a bit of an enigma, which I'll go through into this. I think first things first is to actually talk about her vice presidential pick. Tim Walz, who's the governor of Minnesota, he's her pick to being her choice as a vice president. Her pick, her choice. Redundant things. And like most people, didn't know too much about Tim Walz. The brief synopsis is that he spent some time in Congress and then became the governor. He is a veteran of the National Guard for 24 years. As far as I see from the basic biopic synopsis, he is a good and decent family man. He was a teacher that taught social studies. He was a coach. He's an all-around middle America guy, which kind of hurts the whole narrative. Now it doesn't, especially concerning Kamala Harris. We'll go into a little bit of the back of how the attacks against her and Trump's valiant effort to withstand this. We'll get into the descriptions of what people are saying about Kamala Harris in a moment. But I want to talk first upon Tim Walz and just basically a rundown of his accomplishments and why he was picked to being Kamala Harris's vice president. First of all, I kind of had an inkling that he was going to get the pick because out of all the people that was on the short list, and they were all good candidates, he was the one that seemed to be more active, especially going on the news shows, and more or less reverent in terms of how he talked and so forth. He was more common sense, down to earth, cut the bullshit type. He's the one that coined the phrase that Donald Trump and J.D. Vance are weird, and that kind of stuck. So I'm sure that was probably one of the contributing factors of the fact that he was a fighter. He was going to be a pit bull for Kamala Harris in terms of going onto the news shows and maybe getting into the vice presidential debate. But for those like me that didn't know too much about him, I want to go through a little bit of what is considered his accomplishments, what he has done as governor. So there is a number of these, but I'm going to go through a few of these. This is admittedly from the Minnesota Governor.org essentially. So this is the list of accomplishments that he himself has touted, which I'm sure is confirmable. So we'll just go from there. Governor Walz's signature accomplishments. Let's start with historical investments in education. Governor Walz signed a $2.3 billion education budget into law, the single largest investment in public education in state history. Governor Walz and Lieutenant Governor Flanagan also provided Minnesota students free breakfast and lunch at schools, creating thousands of pre-K seats, expanding access to mental health resources for students, and made significant investments to improve child literacy. Obviously, a deeply socialist and communist thing to do. We'll get there. Protecting personal freedoms. Governor Walz and Lieutenant Governor Flanagan established ironclad reproductive freedoms, protections for trans rights individuals and gender-affirming care as fundamental rights in Minnesota. Governor Walz also banned the cruel, outdated practices of conversion therapy and ended book bans based on ideology. Again, evil. Improved health care and safety. Governor Walz banned the use of handheld cell phones while driving and raised the age to purchasing tobacco to 21. The governor provided $300 million for public safety needs across the state to combat crime and broke ground on a new centralized Minnesota State Patrol headquarters. Governor Walz took meaningful action to protect communities from gun violence, signing bills establishing a red flag law, expanding the background checks, increasing criminal penalties for straw purchasing guns, and banning deadly binary trigger guns. Expanding workers' rights. To make Minnesota the best state for workers, Governor Walz and Lieutenant Governor Flanagan established paid leave, insured pay sick days, banned non-compete agreements, and increased protections for workers in Amazon warehouses, construction sites, hospitals, nursing homes, and public schools. Strong communities and infrastructure. Governor Walz signed the largest infrastructure bills in Minnesota's history into law to rebuild roads and bridges, repair fire stations, water treatment plants, and update veterans' homes, fish hatcheries, and flood mitigating systems, all while creating good-paying union jobs for Minnesotans. Governor Walz also provided funding to remove and replace lead pipes across the state. Tax cuts for the working families and middle class. Governor Walz had cut taxes with every one of his budgets. Governor Walz has delivered a variety of rebate checks up to $1,300 to seniors, students, workers, and middle-class families. He also lowered taxes for small businesses and fully exempt state taxes on Social Security for more than 3/4 of seniors. Again, evil. Workforce development. Governor Walz has invested millions in the workforce development to connect Minnesotans to high demand career fields like manufacturing, education, and public safety. To lower costs and grow Minnesotans' workforce, Governor Walz and Lieutenant Governor Flanagan provided free college for students with a family income under $80,000. This also invested over $1 billion in child care and early learning opportunities. Expanding voting rights. Governor Walz signed into law the largest expansion of voter rights in Minnesota in the last half-century, restoring voting rights for over 55,000 former incarcerated people in Minnesota, establishing automatic voter registration, creating a permanent absentee voting status, and pre-registering 16 to 17-year-olds to vote. Governor Walz also signed the Minnesota Voting Act right into law, prohibiting the standards that would deny or limit any citizen's right to vote based on their race, color, or language. Lowering prescription drug costs. In 2023, Governor Walz and Lieutenant Governor Flanagan took action to significantly lower the cost of prescription drugs for seniors and middle-class families. They also enacted the Alex Smith Insulin Affordability Act to provide Minnesotans with emergency assistance to hold insulin manufacturers accountable. Protecting our environment. Governor Walz signed the bipartisan bill to lead Minnesota to 100% clean electricity by 2040, all while creating good-paying jobs for Minnesotans. In 2023 alone, he signed over 40 climate initiatives into law, including the provisions banning PFAS, quote, forever chemicals, unquote, expanding Minnesota's electric vehicle infrastructure and providing a tax credit for electric vehicle purchases. And in 2024, he cut red tape for clean energy projects to put a down payment on rapid clean energy job growth. Cutting child poverty. Governor Walz and Lieutenant Governor Flanagan established a nation-leading child tax credit to cut child poverty in Minnesota up to 1/3. This kind of sounds rather pro-life of him, isn't it? Increasing the access to affordable housing. Governor Walz signed a historic $1 billion investment in housing into law. Building a foundation for safety, stability, and economic growth across the state, Governor Walz and Lieutenant Governor Flanagan also took action to protect tenants' rights. Legalizing adult use cannabis. Governor Walz and Lieutenant Governor Flanagan legalized adult use cannabis and expunged nonviolent cannabis convictions in Minnesota. He's also a stoner dude, and also evil, and a socialist and a communist, and yeah, we'll get to that. Protecting Minnesota's consumers. Governor Walz and Lieutenant Governor Flanagan helped more Minnesotans recover from medical debt, banning medical debt from impacting credit scores, preventing medical providers from withholding medically necessary care due to unpaid debts, and eliminating automatic transfers of medical debts into a patient's spouse. Governor Walz also signed a bill into law banning hidden junk fees and cracked down on fraudulent ticket sales. Protecting seniors. To protect Minnesota seniors, Governor Walz signed historic bipartisan elder abuse legislation to regulate assisted living cares for the first time. He also allocated $173 million in direct funding for 340 nursing homes across the state. So, yeah, there is a bit of what he considers to be accomplishments. I would tend to agree with that fact. That a lot of those are pretty much beneficial to the people of Minnesota, which would probably mean that he would also work for the same type of zeal for the benefit of the rest of the United States. So what's the problem with Tim Walz? Other than he is the middle America kryptonite, or anything that they were about to say about Kamala Harris, so now he has to be as much as a socialist and communist that Kamala Harris apparently is now. I've been hearing the chatter of the stolen valor thing. I'm not a military person, so I'm not really going to go into detail with that. I will make mention that for every veteran that comes up and who tries to call him out on that, there is an equal amount of veterans, especially those who actually knew him and served with him within the 24 years of him being in the service, that is actually defending him and thinks that this very, very particular argument about the stolen valor of him not deploying out when he put in for his retirement 6 months prior, and him retiring under the rank of command sergeant when he was as functionally a command sergeant but not officially, as opposed to him holding the rank of master sergeant. That's being a sticking point. I'm not going to get into that because, again, I'm not military, but I'll just once again point out that for anyone that is a detractor of him about that, there are supporters and defenders of him on that, so it's kind of a wash. And from my observation, it seems to be the argument that is coming from this is based on your politics. So, in terms of that, take that for what you will. And along the lines of, of course, the people who want to try to be derisive of him and call him Tampon Tim because of his gender-affirming stances and him providing care not only for the girls' bathroom to provide tampons, but also the boys' bathroom to provide tampons, and people start laughing at that, or try to get knee-jerk reaction to that from folks, and thinking that that's all weird and so forth, when he's doing that for those who are trans male, who at the time of high school, probably 9 times out of 10 is not getting the actual gender care for their transition yet. So these trans boys are still menstruating, which means they still need tampons. So this is a good and decent thing he's doing. Y'all are the ones that are trying to make it weird. So, which was why you're weird. So there's that. I think he's a good pick. I think when I've seen him on the rallies and how he speaks, he doesn't speak, and this is one of the sticking points where people have for Donald Trump, which is actually kind of a weird comparison. When Tim Walz speaks, he doesn't really speak like he has that political cadence. he keeps it as close to down to earth as possible. That he just sounds like everybody else that you would possibly know. And with that sort of like that no nonsense, cut the bullshit type of thing, but he also is happy about it. He's like he is a happy warrior, same as Kamala, which is kind of infectious, and I can understand people getting uplifted by that. So yeah, he is definitely the monkey wrench that, one of the many monkey wrenches that was thrown to the Trump campaign in terms of Kamala Harris taking the baton from Biden in the relay race. Well, Joe Biden goes down, Kamala Harris rises up. Like I said, this is probably something I would have been doing last week if I wasn't on vacation. I had contemplating actually doing it from the beach, but I was having too much fun. Better things to do. Not that, ranting into the void, for those of you that enjoys me ranting into the void, is not rewarding enough, which it is. Sometimes it's good to switch off, and it was good to switch off at that point and realize that there's some things outside of politics. Which sometimes I envy those who are politically casual, shall we say, or don't even give a shit until you get them to the election cycle. I want to talk about a few things concerning this race, especially how Kamala Harris is performing, and the kind of again, as I kind of started, this kind of parasitical problems that Donald Trump is having in dealing with her. There was a question that was asked in my social group, in a place that I admin, Middle America, founded by Vin and Vin and Story. Check them out on YouTube, Middle America with Vin and Story, and check out their musical reviews. They're all awesome and they're good people. The question was brought by one of my other admins, reminding people how unpopular Kamala Harris was in 2020. That, her debate performance against Tulsi Gabbard pretty much ended her political aspirations in 2020. That she was a last place choice of anybody. And he tries to balance, his argument was trying to balance it between, for people who, like me, who are opposed by Donald Trump by very nature and instinct of him being an unqualified and disqualified piece of shit. But, we shouldn't be propping Kamala Harris up as some savior since she wasn't all that popular beforehand. My thinking on that, and then I responded to his posts about it. It leads back into my theory that I had in the last few videos, up until the point of Joe Biden leaving the race. That I had a theory that Joe Biden, running for president, needed Donald Trump in order to win. And Donald Trump needed Joe Biden in order to win. If someone had risen up and supplanted Donald Trump as a nominee for the Republican ticket, Joe Biden would be screwed. Conversely, if someone rose up and Biden graciously stepped aside, Donald Trump would be screwed. That was the theory. And that theory is being proven, ladies and jelly spoons. It appears that Donald Trump was so geared to deal with Joe Biden, especially going after his age, his decline, saying whatever he wanted about him, that he looked spiffier against him on the debate. That everything was going his way from it. Then his convention, J.D. Vance, everything was going up and up. Everything was going to be in the bag for Donald Trump. Kamala Harris shows up, and she takes the baton from Joe Biden. Now again, reminder, she was not popular in 2020. People, in my last video, I had talked about people's opinion of her being a DEI hire, and insulted her on that point. To which I gave out the laundry list of so many VP picks that were essentially DEI hires because they were picked to help cater to a certain demographic. Be it Kamala Harris for the black vote for Joe Biden, who busing and crime bills wouldn't be all that popular, even though 2020 election he supremely got the most black votes over Donald Trump, be that as it may. But Lyndon Johnson getting the Southern Democrats for JFK, Andrew Johnson trying to cater to the pro-union Southerners during the Civil War for Abraham Lincoln, etc., etc., etc. But despite all that of her being not popular in 2020, you cannot deny that with her facing Donald Trump, she is packing the house in rallies. She's packing millions and millions of dollars in donations. And before someone goes, oh, they're from billionaires. No. The majority of them are small dollar donations. A lot of them. Pundits and celebrities are coming out, white women for Harris, white dudes for Harris. There's now going to be evangelists for Harris. That's starting in development, which is burning the ass of certain evangelical pastors in their megachurches. Nikki Haley voters, famously now. Haley voters for Kamala, which she wants them to cease and desist, and they're not going to. Because in that particular point feeds into my theory, is that despite the fact that Kamala Harris was unpopular in 2020, with her being as a VP role for 4 years, and now is rising up when Joe Biden is going down. And the only reason I think that people want Joe Biden to go down is not because of his policies, because quite frankly, a lot of the things he was doing was accomplishments. The CHIPS bill, to name a number of them, the Inflation Reduction Act. People want to talk about inflation, and Donald Trump certainly wants to talk about inflation, how things are a disaster, that the economy is a disaster, they destroyed the country. Walking around my neighborhood, walking around this country, walking around Virginia Beach, I did not see the despotic wasteland that apparently the Biden-Harris administration turned this place into a blackened ash-smoking crater or something. I didn't see any of that. That was weird. But, Inflation Reduction Act. Oh, inflation is so high. No, it's no longer high. Inflation is down to the levels of 2021. And in terms of the economy, in terms of jobs, by the time Donald Trump left office, the time of his administration, there were 3 million jobs lost. During the Joe Biden-Harris administration, as of now, 16 million jobs gained. I know he and his sycophants and those who really desperately want to vote for him want to live in their fantasy candy land that he thinks up in his head and they prop up because they're sycophants. If you're going to turn away numbers of 3 million down, 16 million up, which means that's a 13 million job net gain over what was lost, then we cannot help you. We cannot communicate with you. Obviously, we're speaking a different language. So, yeah, economy. You're terrible. Only I can save you. The problem with Donald Trump in terms of Kamala Harris is that he was so geared for Joe Biden that he doesn't know how to deal with Kamala Harris. People rag on her that she hasn't done a press conference yet, and that she needs to do a press conference. And Donald Trump is going, I'm doing press conferences. And he does like 2 back to back, and each one is worse than the last. He doesn't know how to handle her. He can't really attack her on policy, and he can't really attack her on her record. And there's a weird reason why that is. Because I'm trying to be as, factual and forthright with you as possible. For those people, I'm not propping anybody up here. I'm not propping Kamala Harris up here. There were legit concerns that are arguable, that are debatable, that people can get into conversations about her concerning her time as a DA, concerning how she went about going after certain people of certain demographics, and the sentences that would call from that. Some things for just very flimsy reasons, or flimsy, low-scale crimes against high-scale sentences. But the thing is, somebody like Donald Trump cannot possibly go after her about that, because those are the kinds of things that he and what you would consider the type of right-wing conservative individuals in power advocate for, that likes that happening. That is not an attack on Kamala Harris from the right. That is an attack of Kamala Harris from the left. And it can't do that. That's not workable. That's not functionable. That's not, taken aback from some of his supporters. And really, no matter how loyal the MAGA supporters are for Donald Trump, even if he says the wrong thing or backs the wrong person, a lot of them are very so knee-jerk about that they go throw their hats into the trash and set it on fire and let everybody see. He doesn't know how to handle her in policy. And which is, again, weird, because until we get an actual press conference, until we actually see her nail down her own specific unique plans for her to become president, you can safely run on the assumption that she's going to continue or enhance or expand the agendas of the Joe Biden presidency, as she is the vice president thereof. She has yet said that she has broken away from Joe Biden in anything that he has done, with maybe the exceptions of her stance of making the public stance that there needs to be a ceasefire between Israel and Gaza. Now, Joe Biden has also said this too, but Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, as part of that administration, still sent them money, which is another sticking point for the people on the left concerning the Israeli-Gaza conflict. Because we who are not blind, who are not having this weird, fixation on the Israeli government, that we can never say boo to them because of anti-Semitism. We want to turn the blind eye to the horrific shit that they're doing. But we can't. I don't know why we can't. Maybe it's a religious thing. Maybe if we say boo to Israel, maybe God will be mad at us. I don't know. But even that sticking point, that valid argument that someone could have about Kamala Harris, then that people have shown up to her rallies, anti-Israeli protesters, pro-Palestinian protesters show up, that she addresses. The 2 times that she had on rally dealt with protesters, one's that she directly addresses them and says, I understand what you were going through, or what you wanted to express, but I'm talking now, which was cool. The second time, she gave a little bit more. She did the same I'm talking now, but she gave them a little bit more of an explanation, and she even says, we need to do a ceasefire. So she is engaging them, and she's certainly not, telling people to beat the shit out of them, and then she'll pay for their legal bills if they do. And don't be nice when the guards take him away. Don't be nice. No, she doesn't do that. For the things that we have heard so far from what Kamala Harris wants to do, is recently she wants to add, as part of her economic package that she is going to produce, I think she was supposed to do, I don't know if it was a press conference, but she was going to do some form of policy speech tonight. And one of the things, I think she did it already, I haven't quite caught up yet, but one of the things that she wanted to do was that adding to her economic package was child tax credit. And she's pushing for that to be added into the package here. J.D. Vance talked about child credit. Tim Walz talked about child credit. And she's tacking on to what Trump was also pushing, which I actually liked from Trump. So let's not say that my TDS doesn't think there's nothing good that comes out of Trump's bullshitter mouth. Is that I did like the idea of the no tax on tips. I like that. She likes that too, so she's going to tack it on. There's no trademark. You don't trademark an idea. And they both like the idea. The one thing I will say about the Trump version of it is that I do find it suspect, because during the Trump administration, his administration wanted to enforce a rule that business owners can seize their employees' tips. So imagine if he wanted to continue that rule as president, giving his business owner buddies the ability not only to seize their tips, but they don't have to pay taxes for it. Never say he doesn't want to help out his friends. So Donald Trump doesn't have too much he can actually say upon, and with any sense of confidence, to talk about anything worth a policy on her. So he goes to the personal. He goes to what he does best. And only does best is best done in front of his crowd, in front of his people. So, but like always, if you hear any of his press conferences or his rallies, vote for me, or if I don't win, then it will be World War III, and you get into a Great Depression, and Kamala Harris, because we cannot possibly fucking pronounce her name properly because I'm a child. I'm a 70-year-old, 14-year-old. And all my sycophants like Nancy Walz are the same. I'll pronounce your name any way I want. Child. But no, they will destroy this country. She destroyed San Francisco. She destroyed it. It's gone. Don't look at it in a map. Don't Google pictures. It's gone. Same thing as Minnesota. Minnesota's gone because of Governor Walz. During the riots, Minneapolis burnt down. It's all gone. Oh, it's ash. Nowhere. Now, here's a little diagram on side tangenting here, but the one interesting thing is about when they say they complain about Tim Walz being slow on putting the National Guard in. We have an audio recording of Donald Trump praising Tim Walz for his activities during the George Floyd protest. So, yeah, full of shit. Anyway. Circle this back around. It doesn't seem to be, he just can't seem to find a policy points that he's trying to do. The last few press conferences, like the one he's tried to do in North Carolina, his campaign they said it was a conversation about the economy. And he still went on to the personality crap. Because he had a crowd with him. He had a crowd in front of him, and he has to play to his crowd. He has yet come out with a plan other than, if I win, I'll make America great again. In his last press conference that came yesterday, where, he was reading a paper because they actually made him read actual typed out statements concerning the economy and his contrast between him and Kamala Harris. But he just couldn't help himself. He just deviated until that paper disappeared, and then it was all shtick after that, which people were clapping and applauding because that was his staff that was pumping him up and encouraging him. Before they started clapping and showing him appreciation, he was all sunken and he was just reading like this and just not making eye contact with anyone. He's just reading and reading. But then when he got the adulation that his ego needed, then it's, oh, I'm looking all around. I'm looking at you. I'm looking at... You know what I'm talking about, right? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. And then the bullshit came out. One of the highlights of the bullshit that came out is how, the job growth... The job growth all went to migrants. All went to migrants. 100%. Even more than 100%. He said that. Paraphrase. He said that. Now, I'm not a near billionaire businessman. And, I'm baseline when it comes to mathematics, but 100% means every job. Every job created. Every single job created, he says, went to a migrant. And then he said, some say more than 100%. If 100% is every job, there is no over 100%. Isn't that basic math? And he then talked about Kamala Harris and what she was saying months before, when she's talking about policy in her campaign or so forth. Problem with that months before it was Joe Biden. Kamala Harris has only been running for president for 3 weeks. What is he talking about? One of the media failings I have when it comes to dealing with Donald Trump is that no one ever asks him when he says something like, people tell me, they say, I heard from. No one asks, who told you this? Where'd you hear that from? Cite some things. I don't know. I just heard. 78-year-old stable genius with the articulate capabilities of a 4th grader. Now, one minor theory I have that is if he is so vastly intelligent for the stable genius, far more than Kamala. She didn't pass her bar exam. Why the fuck was she a lawyer and she was a DA, prosecutor, attorney general? How could she do that without passing the bar? Fucking moron. But it's vastly more intelligent than her. Yeah, got her. Yeah. She only graduated from Howard with a BA, and then the University of California, the Hastings law school. But him is still a genius, who doesn't know the value of 100% apparently. She was only running for president for 3 weeks, but somehow she's been saying all this stuff beforehand. So yeah, he doesn't really have much policy-wise. He hasn't come at her with anything definitive, anything ironclad. All of it is just the melodramatic gloom and doom claptrap and the very stuff that he was throwing at Biden, that he's throwing at Kamala. So, because what can you throw at her? You try to throw the economy, that there's going to be a wasteland if she becomes president, that it's already a wasteland now. As I've already explained, that the inflation is down to 2021 levels. That there are 13 million jobs, net growth of 16 million from the 3 million deficit that Trump left the White House with. How about the border? Oh, yes! Yes! Let's talk about the border. He wanted to talk about the border. He talks about the border so much. He talks about how all the other countries are sending. And this is the thing that he said in 2016 too, that these countries are sending. This is not people on their own coming over and jumping the border. No. No, these countries are sending them. And they're emptying their jails and their mental institutions to send them here. He knows this for a fact. How do you know this for a fact? Can't tell you. He can't tell you that. He's just saying it because that's it. He's just saying it to you. But that's somehow a fact. And this is an open border. Open border. Open border. This open border policies. Open border. They're going to be on Social Security. They're going to healthcare. They're going to be voting. Man. And the sticking point of that whole thing is known as reality. If it was an open border, for at least for the 4 years of the Biden administration, why has there been more border incarcerations and detentions than under Trump? How has there been more border confiscations of illicit substances and drugs and other things at the border if it's an open border? If it was an open border, we would hear nothing. Nothing. They would just come and go. We would all just come and go as we please. But we don't. And in fact, border crossings has been down now to 2020 levels. Now, the governor of the great state of Texas tries to contest with that, saying that was because of his own, border bullshit of him putting up razor wire and so forth, and that's why they're down to that level. Unfortunately, as much as Texas has a large border, that's not the only border. And people do more to get into this country than just walking over a border. They sometimes take boats, sometimes they fly, sometimes they're already here and they lapse their visas. But this is the same crowd that wants you to believe that if you build a wall, and only a wall, and nothing else, that will be all you need. Which is not. It is a part, it is a function, but you can't put all eggs in that one basket. But, they try to tack her on as being the border czar. That is the Donald Trump's the border czar, the worst border czar we ever had. When did we have a border czar? When did that happen? But she's the worst border czar. Open borders. I'm going to repeat these words over and over again because there's like the only sticking points in my mind. So that's why I repeat myself over and over again. And he says that. His little political sycophants in Congress and Senate, Fox News pundits, Newsmax, Christian Mingle, they all say that. But my humble question to them is, when did President Joe Biden, announce officially, what was the date when he officially called Kamala Harris the border czar? She doesn't have anything to do with the border. She does have a functional role involving immigration. And that functional role was her dealing with the governments of the triangle involved in this, concerning the United States, Central America, and Mexico. To try to diplomatically and negotiate what needs to be done in order to make people there, in their countries, not feel the need to come here. What is going on over there? And what needs to be done to help that? See, that's the other half of this immigration thing that, people don't want to deal with because people just want to, separate kids from parents and build walls. No, actually talking and finding out why people are coming over here as opposed to whining about people coming over here. But here's the thing. Even if Trump can try to push that claim, if he tries to push that in these debates, that he's finally agreed to debate, I guess he's going to get Botox, so he'll try to look younger. I can't debate yet, I haven't got my Botox. Even if he tries to make that argument, he himself killed that argument. How did he kill that argument? When he used his influence over the Republican Party to kill the bipartisan border deal that Joe Biden was pushing, that was written bipartisanly by James Lanford and the Democrat and Chris's Cinema. I forget the Democrat. I think Chris Hollins, in an event. The border deal is actually a pretty conservative border deal that a lot of people on the left wouldn't like at all. But it was something. It was something that would have accomplished something. Something that Biden pushed to the point where it says that if people crossed over the border at a certain level, he would close the border as per this bill. And that bill got scuttled. Why? Because Donald Trump compelled them to scuttle it. And this is not opinion. This is not hyperbole. This is not theory. This is not being pulled out of the air. This is fact. This is fact that people have already said in the news buttons when they spoke with Donald Trump. And Donald Trump didn't like it. Donald Trump didn't want it to go through. So it didn't go through. And why didn't he like it? Because he wanted to talk about the border as a campaign issue. He didn't want Joe Biden to be consideredly getting a win. He didn't want him to see, they didn't want the country to perceive that Joe Biden was doing something at the border positive. So that he'd argue about it and bitch about it and moan about it. Which proves, beyond a shadow of a doubt for those who not sycophantically with their blinders on, with, if I have Trump derangement syndrome, you fuckers have Trump derangement syndrome because you are, on the other side, refusing to see what he's doing. Trump, in that moment in time, showed you that he did not give a shit about the border. Or any of your problems about the border. Or any of your issues about the illegal immigrants or border jumpers, or what might happen, or what was happening, or crime, or the proliferation of fentanyl, or any of that bullshit, because if he kept his mouth fucking shut, something that could have helped, not fix everything, but could have helped, gone through, and for the preservation of the country, that would have been a benefit to the country. Not to Joe Biden, for the country, for the people at the border that are worried, looking across the line at anyone who might cross over. He doesn't give a shit. And he wanted it to be a campaign issue to bitch about. He is dead to rights on that. We all know this. So every time he opens his mouth, he is full of shit. He doesn't give a shit about the border. This is his campaign issue. This is the caravans, yet again. Only now the caravans is filled with the mentally ill and people who stab people because they don't want to shoot people because stabbing hurts more. This is his anecdotal stories. So, if he tries to go for the border, that could be thrown right back in his fucking face. So again, hit her on that. He could try to hit her on Israel and Gaza, but he can't do that either. He can't do that either. Because the Biden administration, which is the problem for the left, is supporting Israel. Now, there have been technicalities and there have been conditions, but nonetheless, supporting Israel. You know, send them money, send them munitions, and so forth for defense. Nothing to do with the offensive bullshit and the atrocities that they're doing, but that money, once gotten, can be used to that. And we already know that there's people in this country that doesn't give a shit what happens. That they have so put a blanket on anything Israel does, the Israeli government does, because it's in defense of Israel. So they can commit genocide, they can take out the water and the electricity, they can rape, they can torture, and then if someone calls them out on the rape and torture, especially of prisoners, then they get all upset. How dare you try to stop us from raping and torturing? What the fuck is that? And again, we have to make the caveat point that this is the Israeli government. I am not talking about the Israeli people or talking about anything about the Jewish religion. Because people will knee-jerk Any criticism to the Israeli government says, "Oh, you're being anti-Semitic. You're being anti-Semitic. You're against Jews." No. But it must be pointed out that when the Israeli government are committing tactics that was done to their grandfathers and grandmothers by the Nazis, it needs to be pointed out. And if somebody has a problem with that, they might have to explain what that problem is, because that's not an anti-Semitic thing to make mention of the Israeli government. The ratio of killing 10 Palestinians to get one Hamas fighter is unacceptable. Especially when the ratio is not 10, but 100, 200, 300, 400, 500. But again, Trump can't go after her about that. He himself says his thing upon the Israeli-Gaza conflict is what he says is that Israel needs to get it done. Not ceasefire. No. Victory, succeed, win, and win fast. Stop the killing. Well, what's going to be required to win this fast? Kill a lot of fucking people. So, can't go after her on that either. And until she makes as a press conference and shows out anything that she is opposed to, that is contrasting to Joe Biden, all he has is go after Joe Biden's record and tack Kamala Harris onto that. And as I said, outside the hyperbole and the drama, there are a lot of successes in the Biden administration than there are failures. Factually. Maybe not in perception, but factually. So what does Trump have? What does Trump have? Well, let's see. What did he go through in the National Association of Black Journalists? She just became black. She was Indian, but now she became black. Really? Wow. If he could come up with a way of doing birtherism 2.0, he would totally do that. Yeah, she was Indian all this time, and now she became black. I don't know. J.D. Vance is protective, and I'll give him credit for that, being protective of his wife, because his wife is Hindi, and their kids are mixed. So, does he go along with Donald Trump's she was Indian all this time, but now she's suddenly black bullshit? What will J.D. Vance say? Because he defends his wife, and kind of defends her kind of awkwardly. Does defend her. I mean, I love her. I mean, she's not white, but I love her. What does he say when people will come up and ask, "Oh, are your children raised white, or are their children raised Indian?" How do you square that circle? For normal human beings, that is not a circle in a square. That's just a square in a square, because they are Caucasian and Indian. They are American. I'm Italian-Irish. I'm American. There is no raising one way or any other way. There's raising the way that the family combines is. As is the same with Kamala Harris. Jamaican father, Indian mother. And they bring up their Indian heritage, or just why she was Indian then, but then she's not black now, from a video that they found of her having a conversation, an interview, concerning Indian cuisine, and her saying she's Indian. She is Indian. She's also black. There was a MAGA fan at one of these rallies that said that Kamala Harris couldn't possibly be black because she is Jamaican. Sometimes this hurts my brain. Forgive me, I have to go into a little line from a song from 1776. Oh, who sails the shores out of Guinea, laden with Bibles and slaves? From Boston we boast to the West Indies coast. Jamaica, we brun what you crave. Antigua, Barbados, we brun Bibles and slaves. She's black. She's also Indian. She's both. That happens. She is both cultures. She's not only both cultures, overarchingly, she is American. As we are overarchingly American despite our origins. I'm Italian Irish. I was born in America. My family was born in America. Their family was born in America. Father, mother, grandfather, grandmother. American. Now, sometimes the Irish lilt sometimes comes out in me, but the propensity for anything that concerning my Italian side, it doesn't really come out outside of my obsession enjoying of Italian food. But I'm American. Born in San Jose, California. Lived most of my life in Fairfax, Virginia. So he goes after her for that. And goes after her intelligence, which is odd since she is 2 universities graduate, was a DA, was an attorney general, was a senator, and was a vice president. But oh yeah, she's dumb. Just claims that she is a Marxist and a socialist, really a communist. Why? Cheese. And why I say cheese, because saying cheese is a better explanation as to whatever will come out of his head to justify that. And he doesn't really justify that. He just says things. He just says things, or he hears what people say. People tell him these things. He's got nothing policy-wise. He has nothing serious. So he has the bullshit. And he does the bullshit because it entertains his fans. The fans like the bullshit. He said he's not going to be nice. He's not going to be nice. No, he's not going to be nice. After his assassination attempt, and they wanted him, like everyone else, to try to bring everybody together and just cool down the rhetoric. Oh, fuck that! I'm just not going to be nice. I'm not going to be nice. I'm entitled to insult her. I'm entitled to it. He said that in the last press conference when people talk about toning down the rhetoric. He doesn't want to. He doesn't want it because a jury of 12 American citizens found him guilty of 34 felonies. So he's not going to be nice. One of the last things I'll say, at least from the press conference, in terms of that, is that the one thing that he did do in the press conference is that he let the cat out of the bag, as so many people do. So many times he does, where he just, in the middle of his, fever dream, rambling diatribe, even more rambling than me, which is quite amazing if you think about it, if you listen to my videos. He lets the cat out of the bag. I'm only doing this. I'm only here to define Kamala Harris as a communist or a socialist or something else. That's what I'm doing here. I'm here to define her like that. He's here to say that she is. Not to prove it. Not to show empirical evidence of such claims. examples to be looked at and sought after? No. Just say it. Like saying Tim Walz. Tim Walz, he's so radical. He's just, yeah, the coach, the gym teacher, the social studies teacher, yeah, he's so radical. Because he's a basic fucking decent human being. Well, he's so radical. He's into that transgender thing. You know what, transgender thing, I don't know, some bad news on transgender. He doesn't even know what he's talking about. He's transgender, what? What? Tell us, what? What are you talking about? Because we know how much of a friend you are to the transgender when you were trying to kick them out of the military. People who volunteered to join the military, you wanted them to kick them out because they're transgendered. That's on record. From your administration. Because I know the transgender is the boogeyman of this election cycle. Yes, scary. Ooh. So he's got nothing. Up to now, he was dragging his feet on doing any debates. From him and his campaign, they didn't want to do any debates with Kamala Harris. Because he was so geared on being the younger guy against Joe Biden. Because Joe Biden was old and decrepit, 4 years older. Because he's old and decrepit. He's the crypt keeper to spry, young, dashing Donald Trump. But now, Donald Trump, when you look at him, now that you don't have Joe Biden there as a contrast, the compare and contrast, now you see Donald Trump compared to Kamala Harris at 59 years old, who looks, relatively speaking, younger, sprier, more energetic, more happy, more easy to laugh. Make fun of her fucking laugh. Fucking child. Go grow the fuck up. She looks far more healthier. As opposed to him. There's a video of him that you go on YouTube, and any of these political videos they'll have sponsorships that comes up, and some of them is the presidential candidates. Kamala Harris does it. Donald Trump does it. Take a look at Donald Trump. Take a look at his face. I'm not talking about the sheen. He looks, when you compare it to Kamala Harris, he looks old, and we already know that he's in decline. As I said, the contrast between him and Joe Biden in their decline is Joe Biden was whispering in the wind. He's doddering, he's mumbling, thought-finding. People go after him for his stutter, but, fuck them for that, because that's actually bullshit. But, he looks like he is an old fart. He's doddering and just sort of, right? And Donald Trump is the one yelling at a cloud. He's the old man that's telling the kids to get off his lawn. And that was the more energetic. That was when you're younger, hipper. Yeah. He doesn't have that no more. So what is he going to come after Kamala Harris for? Now he's going to get coached into the debate by Tulsi Gabbard, who did slay the Kamala Harris beast in 2020. That's why Kamala Harris became vice president, and she became nothing really. But in the way the momentum has shifted, and it has shifted, no matter how, if you will like it or not, it has shifted to the favor of Kamala Harris. In the polls, I don't really care about polls up until the point of the actual end of the election, but polls nonetheless, either they are neck and neck, or she's a little below him, or she's a little above him, or sometimes she's above the margin of error. For someone who was so inept in 2020 that you all think is so inept now, it shouldn't be that close. But it is that close, and I'm going to end this as I always do, as the reminder that I've reminded you in the past few videos. The reason why Donald Trump lost the 2020 election was that more people disliked, hated, and did not want to see Donald Trump back into office. And the way that they ensured that was they voted for Joe Biden. That didn't mean they liked Joe Biden. I don't like Joe Biden. He wasn't my first 3 choices. He wasn't my 4th choice. But he was there, and he was better than Trump. That was perception, and that was proven true by millions of people, 7 million more people. Nothing that's Trump done from the 2020 election to now has made things better for him, since he whined and bitched and moaned, and his activities on January 6th to protect his people that were fighting like hell for him because they weren't going to have a country anymore. His words. It shouldn't be that close for someone you think that's inept, but it is that close. And why? Same reason as 2020. More people hate and dislike and do not want to see Donald Trump in office than they do that actually want to vote for Kamala Harris. But they will vote for Kamala Harris. Because despite all the criticisms, for the vast majority of those people, and it's becoming more and more vocal of both independents and Republicans that are supporting Kamala Harris, they will rather vote for Kamala Harris, despite all their reservations, than vote for and allow Donald Trump to retake the White House. The ranter rants, because the urge to rant is always rising. See you next time.